Hello, everyone, and welcome to Traffic Corner Tuesday. My name is Jonah Finkelstein, and I'm a traffic engineer here with SPAC Consulting. Today's webinar will cover professionally responding to citizen complaints. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we dive in here. You can listen to today's webinar from the convenience of the audio on your PC or mobile device. No call-in number is needed. Join the conversation. Please use the chat box on your screen to ask questions or share your experience throughout the presentation. I'll circle back to these questions, and Mike and Bryant will be able to answer those for you at the end of the presentation. The Traffic Corner Tuesday webinar series is brought to you by Mike on Traffic, which is a part of the SPAC Enterprise family of companies. SPAC Enterprise consists of a group of traffic engineering companies focused on helping you create a healthy transportation system and fix broken ones. Please mark your calendars for our upcoming Traffic Corner Tuesdays. On July 17th, we have our common traffic counting mistakes and how you can avoid them. Today's presenters are Mike Spack and Bryant Fisek. Mike is a creative force and principal writer of the industry-leading blog Mike on Traffic. He's a graduate of the University of Minnesota, past president of the North Central section of the Institute of Transportation Engineers, and a fellow of the Institute of Transportation Engineers. Since 1996, Mike has led over 1,000 traffic engineering projects. During the past 2 decades, Mike has founded several transportation-related companies, including SPAC Consulting, CountingCars.com, and Traffic Data Inc. Bryant is the vice president of SPAC Consulting and is widely known in the transportation industry, having managed more than 1,500 traffic engineering projects. He is also a graduate of the University of Minnesota, an expert in Synchro, SimTraffic, Vistro, and vSim traffic modeling software packages. Bryant thrives on developing creative solutions to traffic and transportation issues and enjoys writing case studies about unique projects on Mike on Traffic blog. Take it away, Mike and Bryant.
Thanks, Jonah. All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here with us. And let's go ahead and dive right in. So today we're going to be talking about citizen communication, and any of us who have worked for a city, as I did early in my career as the traffic engineer for Maple Grove, you realize this is a busy time of year, springtime into summer, as people are home more and kids are home more, and just professionally dealing with those we'll call them citizen concerns. We could frame them as complaints. We could get even a little bit worse on that, but let's stay positive and professional.
So first up, just why is it important? Why do we need to communicate with the citizens, with the residents of our cities? And ultimately, we're responsible to them. So we have to remember that technically they're the boss. We need to get back to them in a timely manner, but also we consider them the front lines. So they're the ones who can make you aware of problems before you're able to identify them. So consider them, like I said, your front lines of defense against what's going on out there, what could potentially be safety issues or other concerns that might be out there.
Yeah, and even if I know a lot of you on the line today work for cities, but even if you're a consultant, we need to remember as licensed engineers, ultimately we are responsible to the public. Mm-hmm. And we have an obligation to communicate and to make things better for the residents of the location we're working in.
Another aspect that I like to point out for the importance is just that it helps build trust with the residents. So if you're confidently and adequately handling their comments now, they're going to be much more likely to be accommodating when you have a project in their area that affects them directly. So start to build that confidence now, and it'll only reap benefits later on as you continue to move through. All right, so that's item 1, the importance.
Yeah, item 2 is kind of the value of record keeping. And as you're going through this, we're going to be going through kind of a checklist process. We have guides and materials you can use, but you want to treat things consistently. You want to treat the residents fairly and consistently, not fairly consistently. And you want to have the documentation. So if
the mayor, a city council member, the city manager comes to you, you have the clear paper trail. And I was just talking to Deb Heiser over at the city of St. Louis Park, and we worked on kind of a controversial, difficult project with a couple of residents over the last 2 years in a neighborhood rebuilding project. And she's still getting emails about that. And she's very clear with her email communication of when she says she will be doing follow-up, when she says she will do something, deliver something. So if that resident comes back and feels like they were treated unfairly, she can go back to her records and show that, no, I'm treating you fairly and everyone deserves respect.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, right along with that, just besides treating fairly, it helps keep you organized. It can help prevent you from duplicating things. You get 2 separate requests at an intersection in the same 6 months, well, you've already handled it. So no need to go do that work again. You can just pull up what you did last time, respond the same way. So that organization is just an incredibly valuable piece of this whole thing of, again, fairly and consistently responding to citizens.
So anybody who's worked in a city for a while knows this, and as Ken Ashfeld, my first boss, the city engineer in Maple Grove, told me, Mike, you're the new complaint department.
Right.
Yeah, but there are themes that come across, and kind of themes of usually they jump right to the solution because for better or for worse, everyone who has a driver's license thinks they have at least an educated opinion on our industry. And the first most common complaint we get is just related to stop signs. They go straight to a solution, whether it's cut through traffic or speeding or safety or not liking their neighbors. This is a very common request that the residents will jump right to the solution. And that kind of dovetails with the second request is all about speeding. So the first complaint is about wanting the solution. Then the second, jumping here into telling you what the problem is. And then third, I alluded to, is cut through traffic, local traffic only. And that's kind of a tough one to deal with, in my opinion, that these are public streets. So whether there's 50 cars a day on the road or 350 cars a day, as long as we're not having capacity or quality of life issues, I have a tough time saying that, no, somebody can't drive through the neighborhood on the public street system paid by public tax revenue.
Next one we've got on here. So no parking, limited parking. So this can come up in a variety of different ways, but where we have seen it the most, or where I have seen it the most, and most recently would be near our light rail lines here, neighborhoods adjacent to a station. And rather than paying for an adjacent parking lot, people just want to go into the neighborhood and park there, take up resident spots, potentially block driveways. So you get into these parking questions. Can we limit the parking? Can we try to get people out of there that we don't want? So there's lots of issues around the parking, but they all kind of relate back to we want to limit who's out there.
Yes. Yeah, and another big one is people don't like having lots of this. Kind of usually goes hand in hand with the cut through traffic. They don't want semis going down the road. But this is really a tough one, in that if we restrict trucks, all of a sudden you can't get your Amazon delivery. Your kids can't get picked up on a school bus. Your trash can't get picked up. Just defining.
You can't move into the house that you just purchased.
Yeah, defining what a truck is and what it isn't. We can go to axle limits and things like this, but does your police department carry around a portable scale system that they can weigh the truck? I mean, just coming down to enforcement, this is really a tough one.
So this one, the sign we have is hidden entrance, but what this one really talks about is sight distance issues. You have driveways, they may be at the top of the hill or the bottom of the hill. There might be vegetation around, and again, there's a root issue behind it of sight distance, but they're asking for a sign, some help for them to identify their driveway into what they think will make it safer pulling into and out of their driveway.
Right. And usually my experience is more than half of those situations, there's actually vegetation that should be trimmed back.
Yes.
That will help greatly.
Yeah, rather than a sign, just do a little cleanup.
Yep.
Then that can take care of it. Got a couple ones here, and all these are generally related to, I'll call them special signs, but special situations. The bus stop, deaf child, I would put children at play in this category. Yeah. So lots of different ones that are special situations. They're trying to warn of a particular situation that is in the area, at least at that particular moment.
Yes, and these are a tough one. I'm actually more in favor of a school bus sign that you're actually going to have school buses out there every day. But a deaf child is a very tough one. What's your policy for tracking if that family moved? I mean, so we want
or
to.
The kid grows up and moves on to wherever.
we want to be warning of things that are often present and need to be warned about.
And my thought on that too is, do you need to specifically call out anyone? If you're in a residential area, shouldn't you be looking out for all kids anyway? So yeah. What is this sign really trying to do? What do you, again, what's the root cause? What are you trying to accomplish by posting that sign?
And anyone who's followed our work knows that we're very much minimalists with all signs, and all signs need to be justified to be put in our mind.
Yes.
That you don't just be reactive with signs and put them in as kind of a hope. Then the next one is just related to pedestrian issues and can roll into traffic signals. We deal with this occasionally. Jonah, who's kind of our MC today, does a lot of our signal timing and had to go out and make some adjustments around some schools at different times for the school patrol and things like that. So there's lots of different ways these complaints can come in, whether it's from residents or business owners or school patrol, the mom in charge of the school patrol, whoever it may be.
So no turn on red. This could be flipped either way. This is usually related to pedestrians again. They want to limit those turns on red because there's a lot of people walking back and forth. Again, they feel that'll make it safer. You can also get the reverse complaints that it's posted no turn on red and people want that eliminated or they ignore it, whatever that issue might be. Again, it's all related to the signal turning on red and usually that conflict with pedestrians.
Yes.
And then a dead end, no outlet. Sometimes, and we put this on this list because sometimes people will want that as a way to, as a traffic calming. You know, there may be one, it may not actually be a cul-de-sac. It may be the block before the cul-de-sac where there's actually a way in and out, but we have seen the request come in that, hey, if we just post this, it'll keep everybody out.
Yeah. So this can be a response to the cut-through traffic complaint, the truck traffic complaint. So there's the mix and match is here in this whole list between identifying an issue versus identifying the solution to whatever their issue is, and different people come at different angles to you.
Yep. And so that's one of the things as you look at this list that we've got here, this top 10. There are many different signs that people could be requesting or they could want, but it's trying to get to why are they requesting it? What is the actual issue that they're trying to solve with what they think is the solution?
And that leads to the procedure we've developed and kind of a flow chart here. It's a little bit hard to read, but we'll go through pieces of it. And basically the concept behind this is we want to treat everyone consistently, and we want to do the due diligence to figure out, is there an issue out there? And then if there's an issue, to do the analysis to figure out the solution. But by kind of having this checklist, we make sure we're not skipping steps in how we're responding to the citizens. And we just believe in process, that we're always better off having consistent processes versus making things up day to day.
Well, the beauty of the process too is that if you are the city engineer, the traffic engineer, this can be handed down.
Right.
So younger engineers can follow this. You can have people take the initial steps and you review it. It becomes very, very much an easier time for you to supervise and everyone to understand what the expectations are when those requests come in, rather than you having to do everything.
And you can even start to automate a couple of these steps of building a web form that requests certain information. And I don't know of many cities using automated email systems, but you could even build up a system that has the emails go out automatically. But in any event, you should have templates for how you're going to be doing the correspondence, so you're not making it up each time.
All right, so let's go through this. So the first thing, obviously at the top, let me get my pointer here. So at the top, that's initial request. So there's just, it's been triggered. A citizen sends an email, maybe a letter, maybe somebody's old fashioned, could happen.
Fax.
Fax, smoke signals. Somehow you get that initial request. And right at the top of the list, we have just, you check, because you're organized now, have you looked at this in the last 12 months? So this is, we use that as our guide, a year. I've seen it 2 years, 6 months, that can range depending on what you feel comfortable with. We think it's a year because that's over a year, we think things can change. Vegetation can grow, people move, lots of different things can happen. So a year seemed like a comfortable number to us.
And then from there, it's getting into the analysis. If you do determine you need to go collect more data, go out there, do your site check, get your tube count data.
Well, to back off, sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
You went down the wrong line there. So the first question, have you studied it? If it's yes, you're moving over on the chart and you come down. So do you have enough to answer their request?
Thanks, Brian.
So starting with that, look through your data. Do you have enough? Again, we've got the split here. And if you continue down, you do have enough. Now you're just replying to, you're explaining the results, what you've done, and whatever you did because of it. It was an issue, it was not an issue, you took action, you didn't need to take action. You're just explaining that. And there you go. You got your kind of 3 simple steps because you've already looked at it. So now if we go the other way, so now that initial request has come in, you haven't looked at it, or it's been more than a year since you've looked at that. So the first thing we do is we have a reply. So we come back to them, or we send a response to them. We want to confirm the location, and we're requesting additional information from them. So this is our first step to just, it's kind of that, are you serious about this request? This is your opportunity to tell me a little bit more. Or did you just write an email blowing off some steam and you're going to forget about it now? So it's a way to get some more, and also just, again, to confirm that exact location.
Yeah, we've dealt with folks who call in and they're just having a bad day. And this is just one of the things that's been irritating them, and they just want to get it off kind of their chest, blow off a little steam, and kind of calling the city is a place they can do that. So building in a little delay and asking for a little bit more data kind of filters that first level out.
Yep. And then, like we were just saying, if they haven't replied yet, so we send a second one. So we give people 2 opportunities to get back to us, confirm the issue, confirm the problem, and let us know what's going on.
Okay, and baked into all of this is we very much try to move people away from phones and letters and faxes and deal with emails, just because it's so trackable and traceable.
Yes,
and
you can put it into your file system and everything, so it's good. So this is, we started up here, we sent them a reply, we sent them the request for more information. In this case, on the flow chart, we flow over. We haven't heard from them yet, so we send that second request. And then if we haven't, then we continue to move down. So if it goes away, you just log that correspondence. We tried to get back to them, didn't hear anything. We're considering it closed. So if we go the other way, we ask for that reply. They confirm everything. Now we get back to them again, another email where we begin the study process by telling them what we're going to do and set that schedule. So this is very important for two reasons. One, it just gives them that heads up of these are the different things we're going to do. So they understand what you're looking at. Schedule is probably the most important. If you don't tell them a schedule, you will start getting emails very quickly as to where's it at? Do you have an answer? How's it going? And this is set by you.
Right. So pad your schedule a little bit to make sure you hit that deadline. It's just if you miss that deadline, you really lose credibility. And I assume all of us want to be seen as professionals and providing good customer service, and blowing a lot of deadlines is definitely going backwards in reputation of the city.
So then our next step, you've told them what you're going to do. Now you've done it. So now you reply with the findings, tell them this is what we did and found, and whether there's any actions you're going to take, any changes that will occur. Then obviously you need to make those changes. So
yes, if you say you're going to do something, do it, whether it's trimming the trees or putting in the stop signs or putting a temporary speed trailer out there, whatever you're proposing you are going to do, have a process for doing it.
And then the bottom one, where all of our flow chart lead to, is just that record keeping. Keep that record of correspondence, whether it's you replied with previous data, whether you did, whatever those replies were, whatever that is, you ended it, you've done your changes, and now you just put that aside so you can recall it later if somebody asks or if you need that data again.
Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left, so let's flip through a couple case studies here of common requests and some of the templates we suggest you build out.
So these are, again, like Mike said, set up for emails. So we're assuming you can get people structured that way. So our first case study is the top one, a request for a stop sign comes in. So this is our template, and there's some generalized text in here, but first thing we like to do is your general thanks. Thanks for contacting us. And then for this one, we've put in, we need to perform some information, but it's just the initial thank you is what we're looking for there. This is where we're confirming the details. So we tell them right in there, we want to avoid studying the wrong location.
Yeah, and embarrassingly, this goes back to my Maple Grove days where we had the same street name, except we'd have Juneau Lane, Juneau Boulevard, Juneau Court, Juneau Circle. And whether it was my misunderstanding or the resident told me that, I think they just said go to Juneau and 85th. And I went to Juneau Court instead of Juneau Lane. And I'm sure I'm mixing up the streets, but that's the gist of it, of make sure you're in the right spot.
Yep. This next one, the expectation. So this is setting up, we want your confirmation, detailed description of your concern, and then we'll schedule what's going to happen with the schedule. So just, again, we're telling them what needs to happen and what we're going to do. We thank them again. We're looking forward, contact us, all that information. And then what's really important, again, it goes with confirming the details, but that map, this takes any of that guesswork out of it. We're showing them the location. So like we show here, we've got our location, intersection to study for two-way stop signs. So in this case, we're saying we don't have anything posted. They're requesting stop signs. We're telling them that. All right. So now this is the next email. So now they've gotten back to us. So we're thanking them again. Thanks for confirming the location and your concern. this is where we lay out the criteria. So in this case, we're looking at stop signs. We introduce them to the MUTCD, why that's important, and what the criteria is for that stop sign. And then lastly, putting in this case, we have 6 weeks for the findings and what we're going to do about it. So again, the thanks, the criteria, and the schedule.
Yep. And as you can see, these are very much boilerplate templates. So you shouldn't have to make this up every time someone emails you.
And then finally, we get to our last email. We've done the work. Here's the summary. In this case, we have a technical memorandum with the findings and results based on our review, not necessary at this time. So you can attach more, but just get right to what they want to know. Are you doing anything? What we're suggesting here in this case is, rather than stop signs, we've noticed there's some sight distance, vegetation overgrowth. So we're going to be trimming that. We tell them the crews. So again, we really like to do this. If we can't give them exactly what they want, can we still take unaction?
Yep. And my favorite placebo is the speed radar trailers that do have a short-term impact on lowering speeds and easy to deploy, reasonably inexpensive, makes you look like you're doing something. Of course, 2 years later, you putting that trailer out has no impact, but as far as following up to the citizen and letting them think that they had an impact, and maybe it does for a short term, but we like going with those.
And then finally, we thank them again, value their opinion. So again, this is some boilerplate language that you can have in, but it's just important to just say, hey, thanks for pointing it out.
Yeah, be courteous.
Yep. So our second case study, we're going to skip the first 2 emails. Those are very much the same, confirming the issue, getting back to them with what you're going to do. So in this case, they had a concern about truck traffic. So we have that similar thing. We summarize the results. Thank you for your concern. We've got a memo that we've attached. And in this case, we see the recent increase is due to nearby housing development, and truck traffic is expected to be back to normal in another month.
Yeah. So, and that brings up a good point, whether you have all of this text in the email or whether you choose to prepare a quick memo for your file. You can do it either way, whatever kind of your preference is. My belief is the residents would prefer just to read the email and not have to go through the step of digging into a memo. But the flip side is having a memo in your file is easier to track and file away.
Next one, additional information. So on this case, we tell them about the collector road, the hierarchy system. We want to let them know that they should expect trucks on there. It's not going to be a truck-free route. And then finally, just thank them again. Courteous, being nice. Yep. So again, trying to build that goodwill, trying to give them the answer. If you can't give them exactly what they want, can you help them out in some roundabout way, and then thanking them for their time.
So, and this leads to, we've put together a whole package, really diving into all of these topics and creating the instructions and the templates and Word documents that you can copy and paste out of, and just a mountain of information, but it's organized well. So you can go through and certainly create your own process and spend the week or two to come up with exactly how you want to do things. But we offer this as kind of a shortcut to get there. And we have a lot of cities who are using it and are using it well and are happy with the process and the documents.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, so go to this, it's on spacacademy.com, but we created this short bit.ly for you. And through the end of the month, we've cut the price in half here. And actually today, we're going to lower the price even more. If you want to go out there and get the whole document for $197, be excited to get this in your hands. So we can get into any questions if anyone has any. I think this was pretty straightforward material. Coming up in about a month, we'll be talking about kind of the traffic counting mistakes, and that certainly is a follow-up after the citizen request. A lot of the stop signs, the speeds, those things are, you need to get traffic data. So how do you go about doing that? How do you go about doing it effectively? I've been in the traffic counting business since 2001. Actually, since I was an intern in 1995, I've been putting traffic counters out. So I've made a lot of mistakes, and I'd like you to learn from those. So we'll be talking about that on July 17th, and hope you can join us.
So it is 1 o'clock, so we've reached our time, but we are happy to hang on the line if people have questions or not. And I'm going to go backwards here to that. So if people want to go check out the guide, go look at it.
Yeah, on the website,
feel free.
It goes into great detail of what's included into the guide. Okay.
All right. I'm not
Looks like we were
seeing any
clear today and no chats in the box. So thanks, everyone. Hope to see you in a month, and keep checking us out. We're happy to share what we know with you and do this every month.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.